What we do here is go back.
How's it going, everyone, and welcome to episode 84 of the Lost Media podcast. Today we're talking about the Toy Story Black Friday reel, the original, more sinister version of Toy Story that never went through to become the actual movie we all know and love today. It was actually cancelled by Disney initially until they begged them to recreate the movie into a much more family-friendly and much more light-hearted version. And it eventually went on to become one of the most successful animated films ever, and the very first feature-length film of Pixar Animation Studios, which has gone on to become one of the most successful companies there is. This is where it all started, guys. Woody throwing Buzz out the window deliberately in this version, and saying it's a toy world. They basically premiered the first half of the whole movie of Toy Story in animatic form, with a little bit of voiceover from Tom Hanks. I think they did some scenes at the end with no voiceovers from the major co-stars, with Woody going, "So play nice." That was finished in an animatic form in its original version, and it is freaking disturbing. It's more disturbing than the actual scene in the real movie. There were some elements of this version of Toy Story that made the final cut of the actual one, but this version is next level. John Lasseter put it pretty perfectly when he said that the characters were so hateful and so unlikable, and he realized what he did when he screened this to the executives in the big first screening of how the movie's going type thing that they did. There's only been 2 scenes, I'm pretty sure, you can correct me on this, that have been released, and that is Woody lying on the bed with all the toys interrogating him about throwing Buzz out the window. In this version, he literally just chucks him out the window. It's not like the actual movie where he kind of bumps a few things and Buzz falls out by the light hitting him. That's like half deliberate, and Woody realizing, oh no, what have I done? This one's just Woody just yeeting him out the window. Just being like, see ya, Buzz. He is pure evil in this animatic scene. In this Black Friday reel, he is a horrible character. He's lying back in the bed saying, "It's a toy world," and he's saying to Slinky, he's like, "Who told you to think, sprain wiener?" And he's just like, "Hey, everybody, get off the bed! Get off the bed! Are you gonna make us Woody?" That's what the pig, the bank says. I forgot what that character's name was. Jeez, I gotta watch Toy Story again. This is, so crazy that they actually thought this was a good idea for Toy Story. I mean, you can't really blame them. There was some pretty talented people working on this. There was John Lasseter. I think Ethan Cohen was one of the writers of this original Toy Story version. It's crazy. There were some seriously talented story writers that were involved with this, and it turned out like this. Now, the lost media portion of this, and why it's can't be found anymore, is because, by the way, guys, if you're just tuning in, this is a podcast. It's all done in one go. I don't edit things out. I just talk about it in an open forum here, and you guys add to it in the comments. The reason why it's lost media is because that first half of the movie was screened. More and more scenes were screened, and they've only shared 1 or 2 scenes. There's 2 scenes, and one's a little mock ending to the film. So I think it might just be half the movie and random scenes, or it might be the first half of the movie and that extra scene at the end. I actually think when they talked about this, the creators of Toy Story, in a little documentary, he said the first half of the movie, but I think he meant that half the movie was done and it was just a bunch of random scenes in animatic form. There's some really shameful clips though that have been shameful, that's a bit rough, that have been shared by the creators of Toy Story, with the characters like breaking down into tears and like having full meltdowns. And I think that's why they haven't released more of this, because it's childhood ruined stuff, guys. Destroys the movie. If you've seen this you've seen this story before from me, I actually did cover this many years ago in a little Have You Seen It video, not a Lost Media video. It was the first thing of any kind of Lost Media that I ever talked about. And I kind of did a funny little reaction to it. So you can check that in the description. That was a long time ago that I made that video, but I'm kind of just reacting to the whole Black Friday reel scene and just like in a really tongue-in-cheek way. So it's not me explaining the whole thing like I am here. Yeah, John Lasseter was very disappointed in this, and basically as soon as this was screened and Disney were like, no, we're not doing this, they just went hard to work trying to recreate Toy Story. And in about 2 weeks, they resurrected the whole movie. This is the same story with a lot of really successful, fantastic films. Over the years, they had really bad ideas at the beginning that were just going to turn into an awful film, and then all of a sudden they're able to resurrect the movie into into an absolute classic film. It happened with Back to the Future, happened with Toy Story. There's a multitude of other movies that were about to just be absolute flops, and then other people gave them advice to do other rewrites and make it much better, and then they ended up with a really classic film. I'm trying to remember a lot more of the quotes of Woody in this scene. He's basically gang tackled at the end of the scene by all the toys. They just climb all over him and start beating him up, and then the scene fades away. It's it's just so over the top. Woody's character in this, but I like it. I like an evil Woody. The close-ups on his face looking really evil in this animatic just are quite something as well. It's just ridiculous. You know what? It's a shame that they haven't released more scenes of this original Toy Story version, but maybe it's for the best. Maybe we shouldn't get our childhoods ruined by Pixar employees that worked on this, because I did think when I saw this, it was like, wow, this is it's one of those situations you have again. It's similar to the Shrek Lost Media, where they release original versions of Shrek and it takes away from the actual movie. It's like, what is this? This was going to be Shrek. It's the same sort of thing. When they release different alternate scenes of a film that's really popular and really iconic, it takes away from what you know the film to be. And all of a sudden, you have this problem where people can start viewing it like they watch the movie and they mention, hey, what about this other version of Toy Story? And they put that on as well. And it's like, you don't want your movie to be associated with the terrible original version of it. You know what I mean? Like, it's not great. So it's just funny. It's just hilarious. But yeah, Woody is pure evil when the toys all revolt to his evil, and they're all kind of agreeing upon just basically taking down Woody. It's very funny. He locks up all the army soldiers in the army paint can, and then they all escape and they go, there he is, the dirt bag. It's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy scene, guys. Will it ever be released? No, it won't be released. It's completely lost forever. But it is a fascinating insight in my eyes into how a movie goes through different stages of production to eventually be released as the movie we know it, and how it just has these horrible versions made of it, and then they finally settle on the actual version. And with Toy Story, it did turn out to be a really good movie. And like I said, there are themes of this original animatic of Evil Woody that do make it to the actual movie. There is a little bit of what do you call edginess? I don't know. Evil parts of the character that are used in the final version. It's not completely turned to family friendly. He is still a character with flaws and someone who does get jealous, obviously, of Buzz's success. But this version is just evil Woody, just pure evil Woody. He's horrible. He's even evil to Bo Peep, his love interest. She's like, you deliberately threw Buzz out the window. He's like, hey, it's a toy world. And they're all like, oh. Like, what else does Woody say? He goes, hey, Spuds for brains, when he calls out the Mr. Potato Head. He's just a dick. Woody, you're an ass in this. That's basically all there is to it, guys. I couldn't go into more detail about this because all it is just quotes of Woody being evil. And the general gist of it is, yeah, the whole animation crew, as soon as they aired this, as soon as they screened it to the Disney execs, they all in unison realized, what the hell have we done? What is this movie? And it just got more and more cringe as it was being screened. I wish it was like the screening at the Phantom Menace where they zoomed in on all the people that worked on it and they're all just like looking motionless in the audience watching the abomination unfold, and they're all just like, oh my god, what is this shit? That would be great if that existed somewhere and they released it. Kingdom of the Sun had that. I spoke about that in another episode of the Lost Media podcast. Be sure to check that one out. Weird plug. But this one didn't have a documentary made on it being screened to Disney employees. And this was before Kingdom of the Sun as well. So there you go, guys. I'm talking about more Disney disasters coming up soon. I'm going to talk about one in the next episode, and I've got other forgotten by Disney episodes, different versions of Disney movies we all know and love. Less successful Disney movies, actually. There's one I'm going to talk about as well. It's a lost, more gritty version of another. There's two Disney movies that are more grittier versions and more darker sort of adult-themed versions of what ended up being kids' movies that just made heaps of money and weren't anything that memorable. So yeah, that's what I've got coming up in the works. Check those out. But for now, that was episode 84 of the Lost Media podcast. I'm actually changing the schedule again. I'm sorry I changed the schedule so much on this channel, but I have to for this because I'm actually going to episode 96 or 97 and then taking a week off. And I just figured, let's just talk about a bunch of animated stuff for the next couple of weeks or so. So I'm doing weekdays again. No weekends. Uploading today to Friday, and then the next week I'm going Monday to Friday, I think. And until episode 96, that could carry into the week after that as well. I'm stopping 96 or 97, not sure which one. And then I'll have a week to sort of review where the channel's at and see how I go and just have a rest, because I started on April 10, guys, and it is June 27. Right now, and I've done 84 episodes. So if you think I'm not, it's sort of an average of like, I think I worked it out, it's an average of like 1.3 or 1.4 podcasts a day or something. It's a lot. So we got to cool the jets, I think, a bit on the Lost Media podcast. I think we need to. I think it's time. But I've really appreciated your support, guys, and it's awesome. And I don't want to drag out another intro for another 5 minutes. I want to end this one. So cheers for watching. And be sure to click that subscribe button and the like button. But more importantly, the subscribe button, because we're closing in on K subs. That'd be great.